inquiry. Could council be provided a copy of the tender specs / call that was issued for the 2019 WW17 program?
Thank you. Response to inquiries. Councillor Swanson, you had an inquiry. No response. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope it's appropriate. I wanted to talk about inquiry number 3. It was submitted at the same time as number 4, which was 4 weeks ago tonight. Our procedure bylaw suggests that we're supposed to get a response to that within 4 weeks. I've had no communication in this regard. Our internal report that identifies outstanding items, just sort of the date keeps arbitrarily getting moved ahead. The citizen who raised this issue with me is no doubt frustrated as I've had no information for him, and I know I have to put him off for another couple of weeks. So I guess I'd like some confirmation tonight that that report will be received in 2 weeks' time, if that's possible.
City Manager.
Perhaps we could refresh what number 3 is.
Oh, sorry. Number 3 was cash payments or alternate payments instead of cash at city facilities.
I can give a short answer that we're working on the process, received some information today, and we should be able to give an answer fairly quickly. It's just a matter of trying to determine what is possible at the landfill. So we're on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Swanson.
Thank you. 4 weeks ago tonight, we received the quarterly reports for the last quarter of 2018, and in those reports, I believe there were a number of errors, and we were to receive an amended version of that, and we didn't get it last meeting nor tonight. I'm just wondering what's happening with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just took a little longer to review the video and compile the response. We do have it now. We'll be getting it out shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just another question, just regarding, just wondering the status of the dog park in the spring. It's not a facility that I use, but I'm wondering. I hear rumors that it's kind of a mess with dog things, and just wondering what is our maintenance policy on that, or do we have signs big enough up or whatever? And I mean, that's another problem that really is in the wild animal park, and it's huge down there as well. And I don't know if we just need better signage, but just wondering what the status of the dog park is, especially in the spring.
Thank you. That is an item I'd probably like to explore a little more and provide a written response to.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just looking for a little clarification. When we were discussing our purchasing policy, we had talked a bit about the direct award contracts, and that was the reason I asked for this written report. And to be honest, I was expecting quite a few more on there than what we received. One example that I provided when we were talking about it was insurance, that the city's insurance hasn't been tendered out, and I believe it certainly exceeds the $50,000 threshold that I'd asked for here. So I'd like some clarification as to why that isn't on there, and I just then wonder if was there anything else missed potentially. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or thank you, Your Worship. We received that inquiry today by email. Thanks for clarifying, and we did get some work done on that, and we'll be able to provide a better answer at the next council meeting on the insurance and the other issues that you had raised.
So do you agree that it should have fell under this request?
Well, again, based on our purchasing policy, it doesn't, and then that extra clarification you gave us helped to understand what information you were looking for. So I think we'll be able to get a better answer next meeting.
So the report may be expanded even over and above insurance? Because I was looking for anything that was purchased that wasn't out to tender, right? Is what the intent was. Maybe I didn't word it correctly, although I read it that that's what it says. But
well, no, and again, some of the nuances of our, excuse me, of our business, And our purchasing policy is that something like the insurance is not actually tendered the insurance per se, it's the insurance broker that is tendered. And there's actually no value to that the city pays because it's basically paid out of fees. So that's kind of the clarification that we need to provide to.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a bunch of other exemptions, but it was more than we could get to today. So again, thanks for the clarification. We'll be able to give you a better answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Some weeks ago, council passed a motion requesting that the provincial government be informed of our concern about the revised provincial election date. Has there been a communication sent to the provincial government on that?
We'll have to check and get back to you. I don't recall.
There was a motion of council passed and directing that be sent. And we haven't received a copy of that, so you didn't write it?
With respect, I write many reports and letters, so I don't recall that one off the top of my head, but I will promise to check and get back to you.
I can say that on my behalf, when I did speak with Minister Keating, I did make that clear in our last meeting with regards to that, but that can be put in a report or a letter. Okay.
If needed, but maybe chat with the verbal first. During the budget process, we approved establishment of a local improvement program, and that funds would come from that the city's portion would come from the land development funds. The outstanding items list on our council package states that it would come back to executive committee in Q1 of 2019. I'm just wondering when this report will be coming back to council.
Yeah, that is in the queue right now. We've been focused on a couple of the other reports and getting those finalized. And we have the background pulled together. I would estimate probably about another month to get that finalized and drafted and proofread and getting it to council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last week at Personnel Committee, I asked about receiving, as is the custom, synopsis of the recent contractual agreements reached with the police and fire union. Just wondering when we can expect those. Thought it would be this week.
Thank you, Chair. I believe the HR department is working on that, so it'll be coming to a meeting in the near future.
Recently, the repaving of the 1100 block 4th Northeast was undertaken, quite extensive. It's a main arterial, or maybe arterial is not the right word, but it's a main thoroughfare. Was there any thought given to widening that street because it's considered to be a narrow street? And I was just wondering, given the extensive work there, why we wouldn't have widened it as we've done with other streets that we've paved that are major thoroughfares. And I actually believe that was our policy for a number of years, that we would do that. So.
City Administration.
I'm not aware of that policy. We can look to see if there was a policy around widening streets of certain traffic volumes. But I can't speak off the top of my head to whether or not that was contemplated as part of the planning and design process for our paving program.
Is it not a street that's contemplated for one-side parking when that gets expanded?
Again, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd need to do a bit of background work to respond.
Okay, so Councillor Swanson, would you like a written response to that inquiry? Sure. Okay. Administration, you're clear with that?
Back that Phase 4 for 2019 would do 3,300 meters. And 2,200 meters is a third less than
I'd have to look into the.
Well, I have it right
exact
here.
numbers. Yeah.
the press release.
My hunch is that one may include some of the east feeder work, but I'd have to look into the details on each of those programs.
How many meters of cast iron water main were replaced in each of the years? So I'm having a hard time. I'm just wondering what math is it that gets 2,200 into 80,000 and comes up with 20? This is a concern I have.
So we'll expect administration to come back with some of those numbers for next council meeting. Is that okay, Councillor Swanson?
Thank you. A number of verbal inquiries. I previously asked about the repaving of the 1100 block 4th Northeast and why the street was not widened at the time. There was going to be a follow-up to that.
Yeah, I apologize. I'll follow up and respond.
Second one is, last meeting I pointed out the discrepancy between the inquiry as to how much cast iron was to be replaced this year and what was actually being replaced, and there was going to be a follow-up to that.
Yeah, again, apologies for the delay on that. We'll pull together a response and send it out.
And approximately as many people may be aware, the 1100 block of 4th Northeast was recently repaved. And it wasn't just putting another layer of asphalt on the block, but a significant removal of 2.5, 3 feet of material. And I had asked if widening the street had not been considered, because 4th Avenue Northeast is a main thoroughfare in the northeast section of the city. If you look, the 900 block and the 1000 block had been widened previously. And when you come up, the 1100 block narrows, producing a bit of a bottleneck. And as you councillors are well aware, the narrow streets issue has been one that was fairly predominant for a while, and it would have only required to widen one side, as the other side had already been done previously. And I'd asked, was widening 4th Avenue not considered at the 1100 block? Because that main thoroughfare would have then been a wider street. And given that we spent a lot of money redoing that street, I just don't understand why we wouldn't have widened it the 4 feet. And we hear a lot of the term best practice when it comes to asking requests for money from us. And would it not have been best practice to look at widening that street, given that the 2 previous blocks on that main thoroughfare have been widened? And that street will now be like that for 20 years.
Okay, thank you. An answer to verbal inquiry extent of 2019 replacement program, Councillor Swanson.
Well, thank you. I addressed that previously and just points out, I had asked earlier in the year how much cast iron was being replaced this year, and we were told 3,300 meters. Then it was told, in the press release, it was 2,200 meters. And I made the points about how that's just over half of what's required, and at $2,400 a meter, we're really behind the 8 ball on that program.
Thank you. The next regular meeting of City Council is scheduled for Monday, August 26, 2019.
Thank you, Mayor Tolmie. On June 24th at our regular council meeting, council approved a request for administration to prepare a report back to us on scheduling issue that the paratransit area is having. Actually, that night, I believe verbally we were advised we were hoping to get that report back to us in August. I've been patiently waiting for it, and now it's September 24th tomorrow, which is 3 months from the date, and we still haven't got it. And in fact, it was taken off our outstanding report list in this most recent council package we got. So some of the discussion at the time was sort of around the capacity issues that we are having there, and scheduling issues and waiting lists and how they determine who gets service and who doesn't. So I would like to see that report still come to council, and I haven't quite determined yet how it got dropped off the list. If I could get an update on that, thanks.
Administration?
We can advise that there was one specific incident we thought was a direct result of that report, and so that we were able to find a way to accommodate that person's request. And then after discussion with Councillor McMahon, we put it back on the report, or back on the report list, as that was only one issue, and there was a couple, three other that the committee was looking for. So the report is back on the list to come back to council, and the Director of Engineering has done some work on that and can give a little bit better response as to exactly when.
Okay, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, just for clarification, you're looking for a timeline?
Well, I guess it's been 3 months now, so I don't want it to go another 3 months. If it's going to be a month, that's fine, but at some point we need to have this come back to us, I guess, so.
Okay. Sorry. Mr. Mickleborough, did you wish to? No further comments?
Mr. Chair, if I could, we will endeavor to have that back to council in October.
Thank you. The report on the special needs transit, the special needs scheduling issues that was originally supposed to be before us tonight, obviously isn't here, so I'm just wondering if there's confirmation that it's going to be at our next meeting. We were advised it was going to be October 28th. It's on the outstanding list, that date, and just looking for some confirmation for the third time on when we're getting that one.
I guess I'll take that question and just say it is a work in progress. Sorry, I don't have a specific date for you, but it'll be here prior to the end of the year for sure.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mickleborough, I think the question was that it was promised for tonight's meeting, and I thought we were given a date. Was it by the city manager at that time? And so you're saying that it's a work in progress, and that's been delayed, or? Can we get a little bit more clarification concerning that?
Yeah, I think that at some point there was a bit of confusion around an issue that had came up with respect to hours and ridership. I think at one point it was taken off of the list because it was felt that the issue was addressed. I'd have to defer to the city manager on that one.
Okay. I think generally council has in the past, when an issue like this has come up, has asked for maybe an update to say that the report was promised, but we won't be getting it to you. So if we could get an update on reports that are promised and are not going to be delivered, I think it would be good for communication for council to be aware, and then we'd have more information. The executive committee meeting will follow after a 5-minute break. The next regular meeting of City Council is scheduled for Tuesday, November 12th, 2019.